Hello and welcome to this SelectorsHub Pro tutorial. This is Inder P. Singh. If you have been using SelectorsHub XPath plugin to find locators in Selenium or other tools, you should also know about SelectorsHub Pro features. Let me tell you about the SelectorsHub Pro features quickly one by one. Then I will show these features to you in SelectorsHub Pro. In SelectorsHub Pro, you can just right click on any element to see and copy the XPath in Selenium WebDriver, etc. Now, how to install SelectorsHub Pro? You can go to the SelectorsHub.com website, click on products and click on SelectorsHub Pro. If you are using the Chrome browser, you can click on install here. This is the SelectorsHub.com practice page and I already have SelectorsHub Pro installed. Now let us say I want to find out the selectors for this user email input box. I can just right click on it and hover my mouse pointer on SelectorsHub Pro and hover it on copy relative XPath or copy relative CSS selector. Then I can click here to copy this selector and use it in my automation testing script. In SelectorsHub Pro, I can actually see the selectors before copying. In SelectorsHub free tool, we can copy the selectors, but we cannot see them before copying. SelectorsHub Pro has its own inspector button. You can just click it once and keep on inspecting elements, meaning that you don't have to click the DevTools inspect button for every element. Now let me show this to you. This is my blog called Software Testing Space. Now I've opened the demo web application and let us say I'm going to write an automation testing script for it. So this is the SelectorsHub Pro UI. It's a new UI that is different from the SelectorsHub free tool UI. Now here is the inspect button. So I click it once, then I just have to click on this element, and here in SelectorsHub it shows the locators for that. For example, this is the relative CSS selector, relative XPath, index XPath, etc. Now if I want to inspect another element, I just have to click over there and now it is showing the locators for that particular element. For example, this is the CSS selector, relative XPath, index XPath, etc. And this way I can keep on clicking on different elements, and each time SelectorsHub Pro will update the UI and show me the locators for that particular element. If I am done with it, I just have to right click it and that stops inspecting it. Then in SelectorsHub Pro, you can copy, edit, save and delete up to 50 selectors like XPath or CSS selectors in Selenium WebDriver, etc. Meaning that you don't have to copy your locators to Notepad or IDE, etc. This feature is also available in SelectorsHub free version, but there you can only save up to 10 locators at one time. And in SelectorsHub Pro, you can individually delete these locators, which is not available in SelectorsHub free tool. Now let us say I want to do the automation testing of this web application. So first I have to click on the inspect button and then click here on this element, and it is showing the relative CSS selector, relative XPath, etc. Now if I want to edit this value, so clicking on this edit button is going to copy and paste it in the editor. Now here I don't have to do a Control C and paste it in Notepad or my IDE. What I can do is I can click on this plus button here which says save selector in list, and this is saved. Now again I can go to the web page and inspect another element. I can see the locators of that web element. So here let me click on this edit icon for XPath and I can save this one also, and it says value is saved. Now clicking on this drop down, so I can see all these selectors for the drop down. So here for instance I want to edit the index XPath, so I click here and I can save this also. Now whenever I want to get those values, I can click on this XPath pipe CSS where it says click to see all saved selectors values, and here are all these values. Now it can store up to 50 different selectors. Now I can delete them individually, or I can edit them, or I can copy them. So let me delete these ones, and I can delete this also. And here I have all the latest selectors generated by SelectorsHub, so I don't have to open Notepad or keep them pasting them in a different place. Another reason for why SelectorsHub Pro is that you can ask it to generate selectors without an attribute that is given by you. This feature is not available in SelectorsHub free tool. I'm back on the SelectorsHub practice page and SelectorsHub Pro is open. So let me click on the inspect button and inspect this password input box. Now here SelectorsHub Pro is showing all the selectors, CSS selector, XPath, etc. In order to work with the attribute filter, I have to click on this button which says ATTR. Now the attribute filter is open, so I can specify that I want to generate selector with this particular attribute. So currently it is generating with ID. Suppose I don't want it to generate it with ID, then I can uncheck it. Now it is generating it with placeholder, and here, so let us say I'm not interested that it should use placeholder, so I can type it here in the without attribute box and press enter, and now it is generating the selectors with title. Now I can do it the other way also. I can specify that I want the selectors to be generated with which attribute. So let us say that I want to generate it with type, so I can specify that attribute here and press enter, and now you can see that the selectors have been generated with the type attribute. Like SelectorsHub free tool, SelectorsHub Pro can generate selectors with XPath axes, meaning XPath relative to another element, and it can be done in just 2 clicks. Now on this practice page, suppose I want to find out the XPath using XPath axes, and I want to find out the XPath for this enter password input box with respect to password. So I can click on the axes button here where it says click to generate axes based XPath. Now it says inspect parent, so I can click on inspect button here, and this password label is the parent. Now it says inspect child, so inspect is already on, so I can just click on enter password, and here we can see that it has generated this axis based XPath, and by clicking on the edit button I can copy it here, and here it's going to search for password label, and following that there is going to be an input box where type is password. A new feature in SelectorsHub Pro which is not there in SelectorsHub free tool is XPath stability check. Now if you are worried that an XPath is dynamic, SelectorsHub Pro can find out if it is stable or not. So if it is stable, you may use it in your test automation script, otherwise you can look at another locator. I have opened google.com, and let us say I want to inspect this button where it says Google search. So I'm clicking on the DevTools inspect button and click here. Now notice in SelectorsHub Pro where it says relative XPath, there is a warning, and when I hover my mouse pointer on the warning, it says class looks dynamic. and here we can see that the class is some alphanumeric value, and the warning says use attribute filter to generate relative XPath without class. So we can use the attribute filter that I showed you previously, or click to check the stability of XPath, whether we can use it in our test automation script or not. So I clicked there, and SelectorsHub Pro says that it is a stable XPath. It found that out after refreshing the DOM. SelectorsHub Pro has Selectors healing feature. Now after UI update, what you can do is you can paste all XPaths or even your entire automation testing script, and SelectorsHub Pro will tell you which locators in Selenium, WebDriver, etc. you need to update. And these locators can include both XPaths and CSS selectors. Now I am on the demo web application on my blog Software Testing Space, and let us say I want to get all these XPaths for all these elements. So SelectorsHub Pro has this feature of POM page. So here it says click to generate locators page. So I can click here, and the good thing is that I can inspect the elements one by one. So I click on inspect and click here on speed, input box, drop down, reset values button, calculate travel days button, and it has generated all these XPaths. Now I can copy all these XPaths and close this POM page. Now here in SelectorsHub Pro there is this feature of selectors healing. It says click to verify all selectors of locator page. So I open it, and it has two options. I can either give the driver command, or I can even work without the driver command. So I just copied all these XPaths for the elements, so I can paste it here. So let us say there is, instead of days, it is day. So I'm forcing an error and click on submit, and here I can see that it is unable to find that particular XPath, so I need to update it. So I can update the XPath in my automation testing script and work with that. Instead of just putting the XPaths, I can even put the entire script. So this is my script. Notice that it has both XPath and CSS selectors. So I'm going to copy this and again click on selectors healing, and this time I am going to give the command here. So it is driver.find element by selector value, and paste all these. So instead of hours I have put hour, and click on submit. So it has extracted the XPath and the CSS selector, and everything is fine, only this particular selector is incorrect. So I can go and update my script. So instead of updating 100 or many different selectors, I can isolate which particular selector I need to look at. In SelectorsHub Pro, you can scroll the DOM automatically to the next matching node if you are finding some element on the web page. It has other features also. The user interface is new. I showed you the UI, and it also provides Playwright selectors, and I need to show you this code feature. I am on the SelectorsHub practice page, and here let us say I want to find out all these links on the practice page. So I can use the search. So I can search for all the links here, and here it says that there are 84 A tags. Now I can go to the next one, and here you notice that the DOM is also scrolling. So go to the next one, again the DOM scrolls, and it shows all these matching nodes one by one. Let me close this. Now there is this feature in SelectorsHub Pro to customize the UI. Now here it shows the relative CSS selector, relative XPath, index XPath, all these things. Now let's say that I don't want to see test trigger, XPath, jQuery or ID, class name, etc. all these. So I can customize the UI, and when I close this, all these are gone. So the user interface has become cleaner. One other thing in the customized UI is that it also provides Playwright selector. So by default it is off. I can switch it on, but it will impact the performance. But I can click on continue and close this. So now if I inspect any element, it is going to show all those options: relative CSS selector, relative XPath, and also the Playwright selector. Now once I have customized the UI, and if I want to go back, then there is this button, click to reset all settings to the default. So click here and confirm it. Now if I inspect any element, I am going to get the defaults: relative CSS selector, relative XPath, index XPath, jQuery, whatever was the default. Now a good feature in SelectorsHub Pro is the code button here. Click to generate selectors with command. So now here this is the command, and driver.find element by XPath, and instead of the XPath value keyword, it replaces that with the actual XPath. And there is a choice of all these commands. So I can use driver.find element, or if I am working with Cypress, I can use cy.get, or if I am using some page object model or some framework, I can use all these commands for Python and this. So let me keep this as the default, and here if I inspect it, so it is going to generate the complete command. Now SelectorsHub Pro can find and work with Shadow DOM also, just like the SelectorsHub free tool. So let me close this code feature, and let us say I want to inspect this particular element. So here it says that there is alert, it is inside Shadow DOM and can't be located via XPath. Use CSS selector. So relative XPath is not available. Only the CSS selectors work for Shadow DOM. And here I can see this complete code is given here, and this is in Selenium with Java. If I'm going to use Cypress, then Cypress has the JavaScript code available here. I can copy this, and if I'm using Playwright, then it has couple of options. It has the Java code also and the JavaScript code also. But let me select Selenium with Java, and I can use this code in my test automation script. Like SelectorsHub free tool, SelectorsHub Pro can also work with closed Shadow DOM. So let me inspect this particular element on the practice page, and here it says it is inside Shadow DOM and can't be located via XPath. It is not possible to work with an element within the closed Shadow DOM. We have to use some other workaround. Now let me show you the debugger feature of SelectorsHub Pro. I have opened the Uber website, and let us say I am entering some pickup location, for example this one, and I want to inspect it. So as soon as I click on the inspect button, that is gone. SelectorsHub solves this problem by the debugger option. Now when I turn on the debugger feature, I have 5 seconds available in which to make that particular web element visible. because the web page execution will stop at that time. So let me click on the debugger, and I have made that particular web element visible, and after 5 seconds you can see that it says paused in debugger. So I can go to elements and click on the inspect button. Now this element is not going to disappear, and I can get the relative CSS selector, relative XPath, etc. And I can click on the play button to get rid of it, or I can just refresh the page, and that will make the debugger go away. Now let us take another example. I've opened Twitter, and if I reload this page, it will show some spin loaders like this. Now if I want to inspect them, the spin loader is gone. Let me reload this page and click on debugger. So SelectorsHub Pro has paused it, and now I can inspect it using the DevTools inspector. And here in SelectorsHub Pro it says it is an SVG element. It supports a special XPath format, and I can reload the page to get rid of the debugger after I have copied the CSS selector or XPath value. You may find that 5 seconds is a long time, because in 5 seconds the element has already come and gone. So in customize UI you can change the debugger start time also. You can even make it 0, and then as soon as you turn on the debugger it will start immediately. And close this. Like SelectorsHub free tool, SelectorsHub Pro can also work with SVG, which is an image format. So let me inspect this element here, and here in DevTools we can see it is an SVG, and here SelectorsHub Pro says that it is an SVG element, and it doesn't support standard XPath format. So there is a special way to write the XPath for SVG. And SelectorsHub Pro also works with Iframe. So let me inspect this element on the practice page, and here it gives the frame XPath and also the relative CSS selector and relative XPath of this element. So in automation testing script, first we have to switch to this frame using this particular XPath, and then once inside the frame, then we can write driver.find element and use this CSS selector or use this XPath. Now how to install SelectorsHub Pro? You can go to the SelectorsHub.com website, and there click on products and click on SelectorsHub Pro. If you're using the Chrome browser, you can click on install here. SelectorsHub Pro is available for all these Chromium based browsers. Once I have added it to Chrome, I can click on this extensions icon and pin it to the toolbar. When I open SelectorsHub Pro, after installing SelectorsHub Pro, buy a subscription plan from here. So you can buy a subscription plan, or you can take a trial. Once you get the email with the password, you can log in just once and use SelectorsHub Pro to save even more time than by using SelectorsHub. Thank you.